Welcome back to another episode of the Oner podcast, the podcast where we break down and review films all in one big, long, unbroken take. I'm Austin Archer, and with me, as always, is my childhood next-door neighbor and lifelong best friend,
Kramer, England.
Okay, we are talking about Eternity, put out by A24, directed by David Frayne. I didn't know how to say.
I thought it was Frayne. I'm not
That's
sure.
what I'm saying.
I do believe he is somewhere from Scandinavia, maybe.
Okay,
I got the feeling that he was like Swiss or Swiss isn't Scandinavia, like Norwegian or something. I actually should probably look it up because I have no idea.
could it be pronounced Frayne?
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm gonna say Frayne.
Yeah, let's say Frayne. I feel like it's Frayne. But,
His writing partner, I'm even more confused. Cunane?
Cunane, yeah. He's
Cunane.
he's American.
Okay.
But he was a script writer, or sorry, he was a speech writer for President Obama when he met the producers of Eternity, and he kind of talked with them, and then he pitched them this idea down the line, and they loved it. This is like such a high concept idea. I love this idea. It's like immediately you're like, oh man, that's a movie.
Yeah.
And they got it. Like, that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, from the trailer, it was like, oh, good concept, and I'm glad that because we talked about how much we both liked the trailer for this film.
Yes.
And I'm glad that the actual viewing experience didn't let me down. You said something about the movie that your thought it triggered a thought that when you saw the concept from the trailer, you thought, is this guy LDS? Because we just use the word a lot in LDS culture, eternity, like eternal families and an eternal afterlife, this concept of the afterlife going on forever. After seeing the film, did you still feel like maybe there was some connection to that, or no?
I looked it up right after I saw the trailer. I looked it up. Pat Cunane, I believe that's, I don't know how you say it, but Pat, he grew up, I think he said Irish Catholic. So it was, I pretty much knew like immediately, but even after it, I thought, I could see someone, I mean, it's a great concept. I could see somebody in the church doing that, right?
To me, it's like I also thought, I was like, they could have made a great Pixar movie out of this.
Oh
like
yeah,
this would have made it.
Soul is very similar.
Yeah, it's one of those concepts where it's like we're just gonna have fun with this idea of sort of an elseworld place that's like it's a like the or Coco, like going these concept of afterlife films where they range from the kind of fun and whimsical to the more dark, like What Dreams May Come and things like that. But since no one can actually say what the afterlife truly looks like, feels like, smells like, is, filmmakers and storytellers can sort of have fun with the idea of the possibility of what it could be, or a TV length version like The Good Place, something like that.
I love The Good Place.
Yeah. And I think that it's always fun just to sort of play around in that world where you can sort of make up the rules of how it all works and everything. And just for viewers, we are talking spoilers in this episode. This is our full episode. If you want to hear our spoiler-free thoughts, we have that on our channel right now. Our first thoughts episode for this. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you want to go to the theater and see it, you can see our spoiler-free thoughts. But we're going to be getting into spoilers here in this conversation. So just be advised. This film stars Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen and Callum Turner in a little love triangle. Really great concept. It's basically two people who have spent 67 years married to each other. Miles.
65 years.
65 years. That's right. 67 years is how long
he waited.
Luke has
Callum
been.
Turner.
That's right. So 65 years of marriage between Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen. And I liked at the beginning of this movie that we meet their characters, in the last, the last day that they have together, driving to a gender reveal party for a grandchild. And we get a sense of their sort of, their relationship with each other and how it's developed over the last six and a half decades,
Yeah, it's a great way to open, because you see who they are, how their marriage is, because ultimately that's the movie is kind of, so the movie isn't really about like religion. It's more about what love is. And this is kind of like the opening. I agree. I thought it was a great way to show kind of who these people are and where they're at. And then it made it even funnier because when they die, they come back much younger. And
Right.
it was just kind of like they still kind of act like they're that age, which I thought was pretty fun.
That's a really fun comedic
Yeah.
element, is like
Yeah.
the sort of it's almost like a body swapping movie
Yeah.
where you've
Yeah.
got to, like if Jamie Lee Curtis is, playing a
Right.
teenager in her body, that kind of
Yep.
thing. Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen are doing that where it's like an 85-year-old
Yeah.
gets body swapped into their 30-year-old self or
Yeah.
something.
I know, like when Elizabeth Olsen is all mad and he's like, "Hey, hold on. Just do this. Just squat for me." And
Yeah.
she's like, "What are you talking about? I don't want to." And he's like, "Just do it." And she squats. She's like, "Oh, wow." She's like,
Yeah.
"This is nice." And it's like,
And she's like, "Oh,
yeah.
I miss these hips."
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it
and
was
it's
pretty
like,
funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Isn't that great? Isn't that amazing?"
Yeah.
He's just like, "I
Yeah.
was doing that all night last night."
Yeah.
Just
Right.
just squatting.
Yeah. I thought
But
that was pretty funny.
yeah, I also, thought the casting for old Larry and older Joan was really good. Betty
Yeah.
Buckley plays older Joan, and
Yes.
immediately when I saw their faces, of these 2 actors, I was like, I buy that. That
Yeah.
looks like Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen." But I
Yeah.
also knew I don't know, I kind of am a fan of just good casting for,
Yes.
like, younger so
Yes.
and so or older so and so.
Yeah.
I know that we've got the technology these days to do if you wanna
No.
do it digitally, or if we
No.
have very good prosthetics, but it's like the thing with prosthetics sometimes is you still have that younger actor trying to play older,
Yeah.
and it's something that you can't help. It's like Winona
Yeah.
Ryder in, Edward
Yeah.
Scissorhands,
Edward. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like, where
It
she was, like, 20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only person I've seen do it convincingly, extremely convincingly, is Meryl Streep, when she played,
Margaret
Margaret
Thatcher.
Thatcher, and I was like, first of all, Meryl Streep is
I
the
mean
best one of the best actors today, period.
it's Meryl Streep, yeah.
It's Meryl Streep, and I was like, but when I watched that movie, because I had to make a promo for it, I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
she is amazing." Like, she's doing things that I'm like, "Is she that old?" And she's not. But everybody else, like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind,
Yeah.
does not seem like an old person to me when he plays an old person.
I thought Bradley Cooper did a pretty good job in Maestro.
I haven't seen Maestro, so I'd have to look at it.
He does a pretty good job
That's good.
I mean, it also, like, it's just kind of it's that prosthetic work that's just gotten
Yes, yes.
so good in the last couple of
Yeah.
years. That's just
Yeah, I think in this movie, like there's a time when you can use it if it's not that long, that's fine. And prosthetics are great, like they can do amazing things, but like on this one I agree with you, like there's such a big age gap that I can make the jump. And
Mhm.
let's just give me good actors, and that's what they did. They got these two older actors and they played it great. And I was like, "Oh, okay, he's him, she's her. It makes sense."
It looked good. It's kind of
Yeah,
like the
it did.
guy that they get to play older Matt Damon in Saving Private Ryan,
Yeah.
where you don't realize,
Yeah.
the first time you
Yeah.
watch the movie, it's like a reveal that it's Matt Damon
Yeah.
and not Tom Hanks. But at the end of the film, when they do the transition, you're like, that does look like if I imagine what Matt Damon looks like when he's 90,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
looks like it
Yeah.
could be that guy. You
Right,
know?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just good casting. It works. I think it works really well. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. The opening scene is funny too because you really get a sense of their characters.
Mhm.
He kind of bickers and complains all the time, and he's eating pretzels in the car, and she's like, "Why are you eating all those pretzels?" And he's like, "People diet these things." And they
Yeah.
like have this really funny conversation about how people die at gender reveal parties.
Which is true. I have a whole YouTube video about
Do
it.
you really?
Yeah,
Wow.
about
I
like
gotta watch that.
I made a video that was like, "Why do people keep dying at these things?" And it
I
was just
thought
kinda
that was
like,
just a joke.
no, straight up. I was like,
Really?
like people will like make pipe bombs to like blow up like a bunch
Yeah.
of blue smoke, and it's like, don't make a
Don't
pipe
do that.
bomb. It's like,
Don't do
what
that.
are you doing? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
stop.
what a horrible thing, but I thought it was a joke.
No,
But
but also, like, I mean, this movie is like you said this movie's not about the religious element.
no.
It's more about, like you said, what love is. But I mean, it's a pure romantic comedy, this film.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is like It's a comedy through and through, and from the
Yeah.
opening moments, it's very funny, like,
Oh,
our
yeah.
opening shot is, like, this line of cars that's moving very slowly down a residential road, and then we see Joan and Larry are driving, but, like, up
Yeah.
it's the joke is, like, they drive really slowly, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's com yeah, they're but you get a sense
Yeah.
of their relationship really quickly, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and we find out that Joan has they get to their house and Joan has cancer. It's
mhm,
implied. I thought they did a good job because he's like, I think you really need to tell the kids. She's like, just give me this right now. And she
yeah.
covers an IV, which, it's like, okay, she's gonna go.
Yeah, and we
Uh
find out at the party that Joan was married before Larry because
yep.
one of the grandkids pulls out a picture and there's her and Callum Turner. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Who's this?" And she's like, "Oh, that was my first husband." And so, we find out her first husband died in the war. And
Yeah.
as they're sort of looking at this photo of the first husband, and Larry's kind of like watching what's going on, he chokes on a pretzel. And of
Yeah.
course, and again, this movie's not taking itself too seriously. It's not,
No,
it's
no.
not being like really it's not like this like really sad moment. It's like kind of a
Yeah.
comedic death. Like he like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, and it's like they're doing a gender reveal party that he says people die at. He dies, which is
yeah,
funny, but they keep making a huge point. You better not pop any of these balloons because there's different confetti color,
right.
blue or pink in the balloon. And he falls and pops the balloons and you see a bunch of confetti, pink
Yeah.
confetti coming down, it was a nice little touch too because of the boy girl. He thought his boy was going to be a girl. And anyway,
I think
I
I
thought it
think
was
it's
funny.
also like it's a fun misdirect too because she just told us about her cancer in the car. We assume she's going to go first,
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
but it's so his death sort of catches us by surprise. Um, so he's the first one that takes us to the movie's primary setting,
Yeah.
which is this sort of limbo afterworld
Yeah.
place that you wait before you pick where you're going to spend eternity, and it's a
Yeah.
hotel. I described it as like a very large DoubleTree hotel. Like
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It's not like a super nice high-end
no,
hotel. It's a DoubleTree that's like, oh, yeah, it's, like, cheap, and it looks very, like, kinda mid-century modern in a
yeah,
way, like, it's just kinda stuck in time, and I
it looks like
love
it
the
hasn't
production design.
totally, but yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it hasn't been updated since like the 60s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's, like, it's, like, orange chairs and carpet and, like, really, like, bright color. I loved the aesthetic of this whole movie, and,
I also kind
I
of
love that.
I liked this thing of like Miles Teller. He kind of like wakes up on this train, and this
Yeah.
train takes you to your destination. And he's in his younger body. He doesn't really know it yet,
Mhm.
but he's got pink confetti in his hair.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like this thing of like the living world sort of following him there. I gotta say, I talked about this in my
Mhm.
spoiler free thoughts. This is a great example of like me having to surrender to what a movie is trying to do
Right.
instead of judging it for not doing what I would have done
Yes.
with the concept. Because I'm sitting there as like what was interesting to me about talking to you about this movie is going
Yeah.
like, okay, we both have very different perspectives on the
Yes.
concept of an afterlife.
Yeah.
With this concept, I'm asking all of these questions about like the rules and
Yes.
the
Yeah.
philosophy of this place. But the movie is constantly telling the characters, don't worry about it. Like, don't think
Yeah.
about it too hard.
Yeah.
And the movie's also telling the audience, don't really
Yeah.
get caught, don't get bogged down thinking about like
Yes.
how this all works. Like,
Yeah.
just accept the rules the movie is telling you
Mhm.
about this place, except that there's still some mystery to this place. Just because you're dead and just because you're here doesn't mean that we're going to unveil all of the mysteries of life and all of the answers of the universe. The people here, in many ways, in this limbo state, are just as human and just as flawed
Yeah.
and just as
Yeah.
confused as the people on Earth.
Yeah.
And there's a thing there are questions and avenues and roads that I as an atheist would want to
Yes.
explore with this kind of subject matter, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that there are avenues that you would want to explore. And I
Right.
think that the challenge of this film, like the writers had, was to walk that line where you and I can both enjoy it equally,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
Oh, totally. And I think, I really, and I said this in my first thoughts as well, like, if you know going in that this is not a philosophical movie,
Mhm.
it's not gonna explore religion or ideals of religion because that's not what it's about. I think you're gonna enjoy it more because I agree. I think you could make some really, really interesting movies with this concept. and dig deeper into philosophical ideas. But but they did a really good job. Like, I appreciate that because I read some stuff, the director was like, he didn't want to get into that. He wanted to have a strong concept, a high concept film that everybody can just kind of, oh yeah, who do you choose? Your first husband that died, or your husband that you spent 65 years with? It immediately you understand the choice. And so he wanted to make it more about that and what love is, as we talked about. And I appreciate that. And so, yeah, I can see if people are wanting something philosophical or more challenging towards what maybe they think the afterlife is like, you could make some really interesting movies, but that's not this movie.
Well, and the screenplay does open up some areas that make your brain go, like,
Yeah.
So when you get to this hotel, you're assigned an AC, which is an afterlife coordinator.
Yeah.
But, Miles Teller, as he's trying to get his bearings and figure things out, he at one point he like asked to talk to the guy in charge, like God. He's like, "Well, can I talk to God?" And she's like, "I don't like it's not. That's not how it works." And he's like, "Well, who do you work for?" And she's like, "I work for Frank." And he's like, and it's like, "Well, who's Frank?" And then and later on, it's like, "Okay, but does Frank have a boss?" And she's like, "Yeah, Frank works for Kevin." And it's like,
like, he talked to Chuck or something. Yeah,
something like that. But then it's like, in my head, I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like, who is Frank, and how did Frank get the job of being in charge of the hotel? And then, but the movie, it's playing those lines as a joke, and it's not actually opening that up to like be for me to. I want to go down that road and go well, now I want to know about that. But then what the movie's telling me as an audience member is like, don't worry about it. Frank's just some guy. He's,
it really, I thought they did a good job diverting those expectations, because especially when like, okay, we talked to Frank and then he talked to Kevin, and it was a good way, because it really like, and everyone just kind of accepts it, which I think helps with this movie. Just kind of like, she's like, well, I think, doesn't he ask which religion is true? And she just basically kind of brushes it off or something.
Well, she's like, whatever one you want. She's like,
She's
like, if you want one of these religions to be true, that you can.
And there were some, wasn't there like a Catholic world or something? Or like,
there's a Catholic world. There was like it was a classic pearly gates was one of them. Was like the classic. It was like, you can go to like the clouds and the pearly gates if you want. So that's the thing, is like, I almost described this hotel in my spoiler-free thoughts as like, if you were staying at a hotel in the middle of Disney World resorts, and there are all these different parks that you can choose from, whether it's, Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom or Epcot, or one of the, like, only there's way more. There's like thousands of different, it's like Westworld, and Future World and Beach World and
Space World.
And whatever the problem is like the stakes of the film come from whatever you choose. It's a final choice. And it's that forever.
Well, and they point out too, if you come, so that's your choice, and it is your eternal choice. If you come back, because there are ways, he's like, if you see a red door, don't go through it, because if you come back to this place, you're going to go to I think they call it the void, right? Which is just dark, just darkness, right?
And this is another avenue that makes my brain go like, I want to know about that. Like, I want like, what's going on there?
I know. Like, is it really just darkness, or is it something else?
Because I'm also like, that's kind of a cruel concept. Like, and why is it so strict? And who is enforcing these rules? So my brain, just my theological and philosophical brain is running amok during this movie, going like, well, now I want to know, like, are they lying about the void? Like, and I do actually think that, and Olivia and I both thought this, that the movie was going to end with them in the void together and being like, well, we're together.
I thought about that too.
But then I also thought like, and I even think there was an avenue for them to do this, because the end of the movie sees them walking out of a tunnel into a town that looks like their old neighborhood that they lived in together. And that's how the film ends. But I felt like they could have like gone into the void of their own volition, walked in there together hand in hand, and then in the darkness seen a light and walked toward that. And it's almost, and maybe I think that's maybe a way that ending could have been massaged to be like,
there's
maybe
more
a little
here.
I just don't like the idea of knowing that there is such thing as like forever
Right.
darkness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Outer Darkness. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
that
yeah.
yeah, I agree. I thought they were gonna do something like that as well.
Mhm.
And this concept of eternity, I mean, this is really a lot more fleshed out in The Good Place, you know?
Right.
And Michael Schur, I love Michael Schur. I think he's a really amazing filmmaker. And the way that he portrayed The Good Place, it was really funny, but also just the thought of eternity itself and how long that is.
That's the thing is and I did say this on the way home too, I was like,
Yeah.
the thing about this concept, I thought this movie was delightful, and I felt
Yes.
like they made very good use of the runtime. It's a
Yes.
little long for a romantic comedy, but
Yes.
because
Yes.
there's so much to explore here, I don't think I felt the runtime. Like, I was glad they used
Yeah.
the time well, but I said this easily could have been an 8-episode limited series,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think it would have been delightful, and they could have
Yeah.
had more time to explore some of the
Yeah.
more like because there's just such a rich tapestry
Yeah.
presented by
Yeah.
this world.
Yeah.
Um, but I think containing it to the hotel also helps keep it small in a way
Yeah.
that's manageable
Yeah.
for just a feature film,
Yeah.
you know?
I do appreciate that they made it a movie because sometimes I mean The Good Place is pretty much this movie just without the love triangle.
Right.
Like, and I kind of thought like, well, maybe this is The Good Place is a part of this, I mean it's not, but I could see how these two would be like almost siblings in a way, right?
Yeah.
But I think that I appreciate that it's a movie. As far as the runtime, I agree with you. It is a little bit long. I felt like they could have used it's not necessarily too long, but I felt that they could have trimmed some scenes down and gave a little bit more backstory to Divine Joy Randolph because she
Sure.
is so good.
I
Like
will
I thought
say
she was so funny.
both Divine Joy Randolph and John Early are huge
Yeah,
standouts in this film.
they
John
are.
Early and Divine Joy Randolph play the main ACs, the afterlife
Yes,
coordinators,
they were
and
great.
John Early is assigned to Luke, played by
Yeah,
Callum Turner, and it's his job to and I think he's assigned to Luke and Elizabeth Olsen's
he is.
character, and
Yeah,
Divine Joy Randolph is assigned to Miles Turner. I don't think we've said this, but it's in the trailer. Basically, what happens is a week after Miles Teller's character dies, after Larry dies, his
yeah,
wife succumbs of cancer, which is also very romantic. This whole thing of like
yeah.
she goes
Dying
right
close
after
together.
him,
Yeah,
and but you're given a week in this resort or in this hotel
yeah,
to pick an afterlife. And if you don't pick within a week, they send you down to like a basement apartment that you have to live in that's like
yeah,
much less nice. But Miles Teller eventually picks, or Larry picks like the beach world, and he writes a
yeah,
note to his wife and tries to go like, when she shows up, just give this to her so she knows where to find me. But on his way down to the train, he sees her on her way up, the younger
yeah.
her, and
Yep.
realizes like, oh, she's here, so he runs
Yeah,
up to like to go get her. And obviously the big conflict of this film is her first husband, who died maybe like a year after they were married. He died in the
yeah,
Korean War.
yeah.
He's been waiting in this hotel for 67 years for her to show up,
Yep.
which is very romantic.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's this classic kind of thing of like, I mean, like, they've got a really great cinematic, romantic story. And
Yes.
you almost really feel like she owes it to herself to see what the life she could have
Yeah.
had with Luke
Yeah.
would have been. And the thing about her relationship with Larry is, since they've been together for 65 years, it's really hard for Larry to compete with the romance of
Right. With the memory of
Right,
Luke, right?
right.
Which I thought that was pretty brilliant. Like, they go into this a lot of like, is the memory of someone really like anyway, I think he even says he can't compete with that, right? And I also love the fact that like I like it when romantic comedies make the choice extremely hard. So, I mean, and I said this in my first thoughts. Movies are great when characters have to make really really difficult choices because
Yeah,
that's how you see what type of character they are, right? That's how
mhm,
characters really defined as the choices that you make. And romantic comedies are essentially like they're just built in with really hard choices. Do I choose this guy or do I choose that guy? When they're done really well. And
mhm.
it's good when you have two choices that is like, well, what would be better? Not like, oh, do I choose this jerk who doesn't like me, or do I choose this amazingly handsome other guy who's really, really nice? Like, yeah, that's not a choice. Like, you're obviously going to go with the guy who's better. But this one is like, well, who should she choose? Like, Luke is amazing. He waited so long for her, but Larry is like, was with her for 65 years and they had kids. Like, it's a really hard choice that I appreciate. They didn't make it easy for her.
I do think it's funny that this movie tries to make Miles Teller, like, kind of dumpy in relation to Luke, that, like,
Yeah.
looks-wise even, that he's just sorta
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, "Guys, Miles Teller's still a bona fide, like,
Yeah.
Hollywood babe," you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just because, Callum Turner's hot, but
Oh,
Miles
yeah.
Teller's is
Yeah.
hot, he's hot
He's a good
too.
looking man. Yeah.
But I think that Miles Teller does a good job in the performance of
Yes.
Larry, of making him less dreamy. That
Yeah.
because again, like this is like like Larry is like an 85-year-old or 90-year-old man who just happens
Yeah.
to be in the body of a 35-year-old, and he's got
Yeah.
all the like the quirks and the
Yep.
of and his way of relating to his sweetheart is just like, I don't know, like she's like my other half. Like we
Yeah.
spent the last 65 years together, like it's hard for me to like to have the mystique and the magnetic draw that like her first love who
Yeah.
died when she was 20 in the war. Like how do I compete with that,
Mhm.
And Luke still, he looks just like he did the last time she saw him,
Yeah.
and the way that he talks to her is, it's just so much more romantic
Mhm.
than,
Yep.
there's a really great scene where, where Larry tries to compete with the romance of what she's got with Luke because he sees a poster for Dean Martin, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Wait, Dean Martin's here?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Divine Joy Randolph's like, "Yeah?" And he's
Like,
like,
he's sad. You don't want this guy. Yeah.
and she's like, "It's kinda sad," and he's like, "No, no, no, she loves Dean Martin." He's like, "Set this up." He's like, If you can set up a concert with," he's like, I'll take her to Dean Martin," and like that, so he, like, takes her out for a surprise, like, "You're gonna love this, honey," and it's just a Dean Martin impersonator who's, like, an alcoholic who just
Yeah, and he's like, doesn't even look like Dean Martin.
No, it doesn't
Like,
look like him at all.
I was like, why did they choose this guy? He doesn't look, and then the joke became apparent. Oh, he's not Dean Martin.
He's not Dean Martin.
He's like a lounge singer that's really, really bad. He's got like a toupee on still, I think, right? Or something.
Yeah, and Divine
Yeah.
Jordan, she's like, "I was wondering, like, why you wanted to see him."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was a
but
great, yeah, he tries. Also, we forgot to say that Larry and Luke meet up before Joan gets there. Luke is a bartender,
Right.
and they talk to each other, and they kind of, anyway, I thought their relationship too was interesting. Kind of
There's
comes up
also
a little
like
bit.
there's this, yeah, for sure. Like they've got actually a really good
Yeah.
relationship that develops really
Yeah.
nicely in the film because
It
obviously they
does.
go through the process of being kind of at odds with each other and
Yeah.
jealous of each other and fighting over Joan's affections, but then they also like they wind up kind of commiserating together,
Yeah.
and they bond over their shared love of Joan and,
Yeah.
and everything. But there's this nice running joke also throughout of like, there's all these solicitors in the hotel that are trying to sell
Yeah.
you on different versions of, and if you're looking in the background, like you just get to see like all the different worlds that exist. Like
Yeah.
at one point, there's a poster behind someone that's like Clown World.
Yeah. That was so
It says
creepy.
discontinued, and then it also
Yeah.
says Marxism World sold out, and I was like, "That's great." Just,
Yeah.
like, I felt like most of the comedic swings that the screenplay took were
Yeah.
landed really well in the film. Like, my audience was laughing the entire time
Yeah.
when they're supposed to laugh,
Yep.
and it wasn't just John Early and Divine Joy Randolph, like, all the characters
No.
were, like, getting good
Yeah.
laughs in.
Well, yeah, and they did a great job. All three of them, Callum Turner, Miles Teller, and Elizabeth Olsen. They did a great job towing the line between comedy and drama,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of really funny parts. And Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen did a great job. They felt like a very old couple. Like their chemistry was great, and then also her chemistry with Callum Turner was also great because she has this old love with Miles Teller, and she has this new unfulfilled love with Callum Turner. So I thought they all did a really great job in keeping it funny, but also when the emotional moments came, I still believed him. And I
Oh,
think this is all really
absolutely.
talented acting, so
Yeah. I mean, so the choice is obviously very hard. What they get authorization to do from Kevin or from Frank or whoever up in the
yeah,
upper
yeah,
offices, don't think
yeah,
too hard about it.
yeah,
Is they allow her to go on a date with each guy for a day
in an eternity.
in one of these eternities. So she goes to Mountain World with Luke, which is kind of the place that she would prefer to be,
Yeah,
or that she said earlier. And they're also related to like vacations that she and
yeah,
Larry were talking about in the car in the first
yes,
scene.
yeah,
And what we find out that wherever you go to an eternity, there's like an archive hall that you can get a ticket for, and it shows you memories from your life. And
yes,
so she and Luke are sort of going through the memories of like when they first met and when he left for the war and all this stuff. But then Luke sees that the dock that he said goodbye to her on when he left for the war
yeah,
is the same dock where Larry proposed to her. And Larry used the memory of Luke as sort of
yeah,
emotional leverage to, get it, which
yeah,
almost makes us go like, "Oh," and I think at this point in the movie, we're kinda thinking like, maybe Larry's really not the right guy for her. Because also Larry was, like, ready to leave after a week. He
yeah,
had his bags packed, and he was headed off to Beach World, just leaving her a note, and Luke waited for 67 years, and
yes,
then to find out that, like, Larry uses this sort of emotional uh like weapon to become her husband. It's kind of like, oh, maybe she should be with
yeah,
Luke. And they go back and Larry kind of confronts Luke about it, like, you use my doc, like you
yeah.
know,
Well, and at the same time, uh, Larry breaks into Luke's little apartment and he's like looking for dirt that he can use on
yeah,
him. And he sees some stuff. He sees hair dye and he sees some other like things that he tries to use as ammo, which are not really ammo at
yeah,
all. And like, so they end their date early, kind of on a bad note.
yeah.
And then they leave and Luke comes back into his apartment and he sees Larry there and they have a little fight and a note pops out of Larry's uh, pocket
Mhm,
and they leave and ultimately Luke finds it and it's the letter that Larry had sent was going to send to Joan saying, I'm in this world, come and find me.
mhm.
And then they go on their date. Larry and Joan go on their date to Beach World and it's also kind of a disaster.
Beach
But
World's just bad.
it
Beach
really
World,
does look like everybody's just sleeping, like no
well,
one's
it's
having
it's way
fun.
overcrowded.
Yeah,
It's just like not a great time out in Beach World.
yeah,
Uh But at this point, it like, and the whole movie, it kind of is like Larry's kind of losing. Like he
he
just
is.
can't really compete with like the mystique of Luke. And there's also this funny but also I think effective emotionally and philosophically
Yeah,
repeated motif of perfection. Everyone
yeah,
keeps
yeah,
calling Luke perfect.
yeah,
John Early says that he's perfect,
yeah,
and Joan keeps saying that he's perfect, and Luke kind of snaps and he's like, "Stop! I'm not
yeah,
perfect."
yeah,
And so when the dirt comes out, when they're all confronting each other, and it's like, and Luke's pointing out, like, "Look at this letter. He was gonna leave you,"
yeah,
and then he's
yeah,
like, "Well, he's got hair dye and stuff," you
yeah,
know, and all this stuff comes to light. That's like, it also comes to light that, like, Luke didn't actually
yeah.
he didn't
He slept with some other women. And he's like, and a guy. He's like two guys, and he's like, okay, I slept with two guys just to see what it was like.
which
Like,
I also just thought was, like, funny and also,
yeah,
like, fair that
yeah, 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 yeah,
he's stuck
yeah,
in a hotel for 67 years with
yeah,
nothing but time on his
right,
hands while he wait hopefully his first wife will show up and want to see him,
yeah,
and while he's there, like, in that span of time, he, like, hooked up a few times with a few
yeah,
people and
yeah,
explored some stuff, and it's like,
yeah, yeah,
"Sure," and because
yeah.
he's also, like, not aging that entire time, you know?
Well, yeah, yeah.
He's
And
like,
he's
for
like,
yeah,
I thought they played it really funny because Larry's really trying to make it look like it's bad, but Luke, like, he admits everything and she's fine with it. But the, I mean, and Luke does actually point out, like, oh, well, Larry was going to leave you. Like, he
right.
was going to go and so it makes her mad at both of them. And she tells them both to leave, right? I think at this point.
This I think she tells them she's made her decision at some point,
Well,
and
and she goes to visit Karen,
that's right, she
which I
go yeah,
thought was pretty
yeah.
funny
So
because
they
they
yeah,
talk about Karen, this other person who lived in the community with them, who I
she
think
was the
she just
president of the HOA.
yeah,
Yeah, uh-huh,
and he and Larry's like, "Oh, she's here. I got to go talk to her to find out why Joan loved me." And he knocks on the door, and she's the same age. And he's like, "Oh, you didn't get younger. Like what?
He's like,
Why
"Why are you
was this?"
still old?" And she's like, "Right after my husband died, I went to Paris." And she's like, "And I lesed out for a full month with my
Yeah,
friend." She's like, "It was the best month of my life." She's like,
yeah,
"I went full lesbian."
yeah.
She's
It
you
was
know?
pretty funny. That was
Yeah,
a
she's
pretty
like,
funny
"That's
moment.
because
Yeah,
the I don't think we said this, but, like, when you go to the hotel on the train after you die, you go to your happiest
yes,
age, and that's
yes,
important.
that's important.
You
Yeah,
you revert to whatever time in your life you were the happiest. So, so, she basically
yeah,
she goes and has a girls night with Karen, and they're drinking, and this is a funny sequence where they're going to all of the different afterlife like
yeah,
booths
yeah,
that
yeah.
and like they're like
They're getting
drinking at one of,
drunk and yeah,
and this guy's like, are you guys gonna pick this afterlife? Or, and she's like,
yeah,
just give me more drinks,
yeah,
and like I thought the one that was funny was like 1930s Germany without the Nazis, like if
yeah,
you want to live there forever, it's the Weimar eternity.
yeah,
um
yeah, yeah,
but the boys also go out and have a boys night, and they sort of like
yeah,
connect and commiserate, and they
yeah,
they connect over the fact that like neither one of them is perfect.
yeah,
They're flawed,
yeah.
and they start sharing memories of like Joan and like their life and stuff.
Mhm.
But Joan calls them together and says, like, I've made my decision.
Yeah,
And she tells them, I pick neither of you,
yeah,
and I'm going to go with Karen.
yeah,
And I think at this point, she just kind of goes, like, I had my life with you, Larry. It was
yeah,
lovely. And, Luke, like, I think we just need to accept that maybe it was never meant to be.
yeah,
And she picks neither. And uh, the boys go back and they're sort of like, well, I
yeah.
guess
They're totally defeated.
totally defeated, and they start talking about this. Now this was a part I'm interested to know if this got you as much as it got me
Mm.
emotionally, because this like really got me
Yeah.
emotionally. That they're explain like Luke's explaining why he has the hair dye, and he's like my hair was going
Ball.
gray,
Yeah, yeah,
and bald in some areas right when I died. He's like, but it was right after Joan and I were married, and I was just about to head off to war. And he's like, and it's the happiest I'd ever been.
yeah,
He's like, and
yeah,
he's like, so I dye it and try, every day hoping that I would look the same when she comes back, and he also had a mustache, but he
yeah,
shaves it every day because she didn't
yeah.
like it,
Yep.
which is very romantic. But
Yes.
then Larry's explaining that he's like 35 and and they had just had like their second kid or something. And so he's a little bit older, and he's like, and I felt like we were a team. And as they're explaining, Larry has this realization, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh my gosh. And he runs to the train where Joan
Yeah.
is getting on the train and
With Karen. Yeah.
with Karen. And, I liked this as kind of a twist too, because this felt like the quintessential romantic comedy moment where like the
Yes.
main character realizes like, oh, I know what I have to say to make her fall in love with me. Because Larry's kind of been losing the entire movie, and it's like, oh, he just realized it. And he
Yeah.
runs to the train, and I thought he was going to say something like, I just realized why you should be with me.
Right.
And he knocks on the train window and is like, come out here, and she comes out, and then he says, your hair's different. And he goes,
Yeah.
your hair is longer. And she's like, what? And he goes, your hair was shorter when I met you. It's longer now. And he points out to her that I'm getting chills as I say it
Oh
right
yeah. Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
He points out to her, like, your hair was longer when you were with Luke. And he's like, so you
Yeah.
were happier when you were with him than you were with me. And he's like, you need to go be with him. And
Yeah.
I started crying in the theater because I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
that is so beautiful. But like,
Oh, well, and that, yeah, it really, really was because and this is the thing about Larry, like most of the time I agree with you. Like you're kind of like, man, Larry, you're blowing it. Like you don't really know. But they keep doing these things where everybody says, well, even Karen says like, well, you always just tried to make her happy. Like that's
right.
your whole, you always just tried to do whatever made her happy. And that's why she loved you. And he never really knows why. And then this is the moment that you're like, wow, what a selfless decision, that he's thinking about his wife. And yeah, I did love this moment too, because it's like you don't see this often, and
No.
I like that they had to make this choice. He goes and he tells her, you need to go be with Luke. He's a great guy. I think you need to see what your life would be like with him.
Well, and the revelation moment not being like,
Yes.
here's it, being like,
Yes.
I realized this thing, and
Yep.
because I love her so much, I'm gonna go and run and stop her and say, you like not not bang on the window and say, Cassandra, Cassandra, or whatever
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
says
yeah.
in the
Yeah, in
original movie
yeah, yeah, yeah. In,
The
The Graduate.
Graduate. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
thinking of Wayne's World too.
Yeah. Cassandra!
Cassandra. But
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
go in defense of the guy that you've been competing with and be like,
Yes.
you owe yourself a life with him.
Yeah.
And so she does. She goes off to Mountain World
Yep.
with Luke,
Uh-huh.
and they seem to have a nice, I don't know, we don't really know how much time passes.
Yeah,
6 months?
it could be years, it could be
Yeah.
something, but, like, yeah, they have this time, and you can tell, like, at first, she's loving it, and they're having a good time, they're obviously having this relationship. You could tell that Luke is just absolutely loving everything. There's
Uh,
another couple that they meet where one of them died at a gender reveal party, which I thought was
yeah,
pretty funny,
yeah.
and, so there but then slowly you see that Joan is really not having a good time. She keeps going to the past archives
She goes and
and
looks at her memories with
yeah,
Larry every day.
with her kids, with
Yeah.
Larry, and like, and so you can tell it's just not she's already feeling like she made the wrong decision. And even the guy who runs the archive thing is like, listen, this isn't healthy. Like you
Yeah.
and then they have a confrontation. Well, they kind of have like this moment, yeah, right? She's at her lowest point and she tells Luke, I made the wrong decision. Like, I'm sorry. I need to be with Luke. And this is the part, like, so I loved the hair part. Thought that was amazing. This is also the part that really got me.
Mhm.
Because Elizabeth Olsen starts talking about what love is. She says maybe love isn't just like the and I wish I had the quote because they write it so much better than I can say it. But she basically says maybe love is just the little moments. Like we had this love that we didn't know what love was. So we had this young love, but like we didn't know what love was because we didn't have to worry about bills. We didn't have to worry about
Right.
kids. And like that's she's like, that's what, maybe love is the messy moments. And to me, I was like, that really got me because I'm like, that really is like I read this article a long time ago, and it was titled "I Didn't Love My Wife When I Married Her," and it's all about that concept of you love each other, and it's so important to have that like those butterflies and all those things. But then like, how do you love someone when you only have a few dollars in your bank account? And how do you love someone when something's not going right? And it talks all about how the love really grows when you make those sacrifices and when you go through those hard times with your significant other. And that's kind of what she sums up in that
Well,
moment.
and like Larry said when he was talking about his happiest moment, he's like, "I felt like we were a team."
Yeah.
He's like, "We didn't have a lot of money and we were building the crib for like our second kid and we just,"
Yeah.
he's like, "But like she looked at me and it's like it felt like we were in it together. We
Yeah.
were a team." And but also I think like that, yeah, that conversation starts because Luke's like, "Yeah, but your hair is the same length as it was when
Yeah.
like you were with me." And she's like, "Yeah, but like," she goes, "Yeah, maybe I was happier." Like the height of the
Yeah.
emotion is like
Yeah.
my first love. It's really hard to compete with the first time I've ever felt those feelings.
Yeah.
But like that can't compare to actually spending a life with someone and building the work
Yeah.
that goes into developing a partnership like that. And Luke, like Larry, decides to help her get out
Yeah.
of
Which
the yeah,
I loved as well. I loved again that he's like they have this moment he goes away and then he ultimately decides like, listen, I'm gonna help you because she decides she's gonna try and go back through one of those red doors.
yeah,
And I thought that was also awesome. Like, man, Larry, Luke, you're a great guy. Like it was
yeah,
like these two great guys. So
yeah. Everyone in this movie's a good, like everybody's good, you
well,
know?
and yeah, and I
Yeah,
I said this in my first thoughts as well. Like I knew where this was going.
yeah,
I knew that she was gonna end up with Larry,
yeah.
but I love the way that they got to it because she first of all makes the choice to have neither of them because
Mhm.
which I thought was great. And then Larry comes and says you should choose him, and she does, and then she realizes no, I've got to choose Larry. So I thought it was a great way to kind of have it all. Like it's surprising how it
Sure.
how it all worked.
Well,
Like
that that they both love her enough to like let her have that sort of.
yeah,
I mean, it's in a way it is sort of like a really cool afterlife
yeah,
idea. I
yeah,
mean, like my philosophical question goes into like and it's more of the thing that they talk about on The Good Place, which is like, wouldn't anything forever start being
Yeah.
torturous? And
Torturous, yeah.
like the idea of having to pick one place, be it a beautiful mountain landscape or a beach or the Old West or whatever, and
Yeah.
being stuck there forever and having no variety, being like, okay, I'd like to like go somewhere else now. Like
Yeah.
that to me, I'm like, all of those sound bad
Yeah.
after like
Yeah.
after like 100 years. Like all of them,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe not even that long.
Yeah.
Just the idea that like there's so little mobility in this afterlife, but
Yes.
I get too stuck in that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And when she goes through the red door, my brain goes into more of that space because she
Yeah.
does this like run through her old
Yeah.
memories, and it reminded me of like kind of sequences that we see in movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once or even
Yeah.
Thunderbolts, where they're like moving
Yeah.
through.
I thought of Being John Malkovich.
Yeah. Mhm.
It very much had that vibe. She comes through a washing machine, right, or
Yeah.
a dryer, and she crawls out and she's in her house and she sees, which I thought this was kind of cool too. She sees her older self
Yeah.
like dying on the bed, and her older self just says Larry,
Mhm.
and I don't know why, I just really liked that little moment that they have.
Yeah.
But the police are coming to get her, which we saw the police earlier, so it's, she's running through and she ultimately makes it back to the junction or whatever they call that hotel, right?
And
And
now, yeah, now Larry is the bartender. He's taken
yeah,
Luke's old job. I also like this that we find out that John Early and Divine Joy Randolph are dating.
I love that too,
And
because they have the great bickering back and forth the whole time, because they were together at one point and now they decide to take another chance, right?
but also John Early's like the gayest man alive.
Yeah,
And
which I thought was so funny.
the movie's not like trying to pass him off as not gay.
No,
Like
no.
they're
Well,
make
I
it's part
assumed
of the joke. Like
I assumed that one of the two men that Luke slept with was John Early. Like
pr-
I'm pretty sure you guys slept together and now that's why he's helping you. Like that's
very likely. Like
yeah. Yeah,
very
like that, I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But also like, yeah, I like when they're talking about like their love life too.
yeah.
And John Early's like, oh yeah. He's like, it's
Yeah.
really
Pretty passionate. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's pretty great. I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's awesome because it's also just like, sure, if they're just living at this hotel forever, like whatever, might as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, but she goes and finds Larry at the bar, and he, that they basically have to like make an escape through these red doors, and
Yeah.
but this is where I just felt like I wasn't clear of like the geography of how they get to this
Yeah.
final place.
Yeah.
I was like, what door did they go through to
So
arrive at, or did they just run down one of the tunnels
yeah,
of
so my assumption, I agree, and they do like they're at the bar and they have this great moment where he sees her, and I thought that was great, but then he's like, well, she's like, I gotta go because they're coming after me. He's like, well, when are we leaving, right? Or he says
Mhm,
something like that. But earlier on in the movie, she has to get away from the two guys, and John Early takes her into this like room, and it looks like a train station, like a train stop, and that's where all the like abandoned places are, and
mhm,
that's Divine Joy Randolph says like, "Oh, go in one of the abandoned tunnels. They don't search those." And that was my assumption. Is they just had to walk to
yeah.
wherever that eternity was, because they're all dirty when they come out, and but they don't go into it. So it's kind of like, which I thought was fine. I thought, yeah, I get it.
Again,
Like
this
whatever.
this movie kind of over and over again is presenting interesting stuff that you want
Yeah,
more information on, but also simultaneously reminding you, don't
yeah,
look, we're not taking this
yeah,
concept ultra seriously. The stuff that we're taking seriously is like the relationships between these characters.
yeah.
And the setting is just an interesting place to put it that
Yep,
gives it a unique and kind of new, fresh
yeah,
spin.
yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, and they go into this world, this eternity that's been closed down apparently, and it looked like it was something like Perfect World or something.
Yeah.
There was a poster in the background of one of the scenes, and I think that's where they went. But they hold hands, and that's where the movie ends. So
And it still it's again, like it's hard for me not to ask questions like, are there people there? Is it just the two
yeah,
of them?
yeah,
Are they I'm asking questions like, do they eat in these places?
I
Like
know.
they
Yeah,
drink. Do
yeah,
they like I just am like, I'm just
yeah,
curious. There's all this information I want to know about the logic of
yeah,
these realms. But again, the movie is like, that's not I think it would be a mistake to judge this movie for not answering those questions, because those aren't the
Yes.
questions that the movie is
No.
that's not that the movie exists to answer. It doesn't it
Yeah.
doesn't exist to answer the questions of, like, how an afterlife works and
Yeah.
what the lot yeah.
Yeah. And I think I totally agree. And I think the reason that this movie works so well is because and the concept isn't just to have a concept of something that's hard to do, but like we've been saying, like this is really about what love is. And
Mhm,
the concept is able to view everything from an afterlife perspective. Like, is love just that early first time love, right, that she has with Luke, or is it a lifetime, a 65-year thing of love, which it can be both, either one. But for this story, it works so well because she can look at both of those scenarios,
mhm.
right? Like, since she's dead, she can kind of look back on that, and it can really add a commentary of this is what love is, right? Or this is what love can be. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's hard, but when you get through those moments together, that's the important thing. So the concept itself isn't just there, it
Right,
still makes sense. So I think that's why it works so well,
definitely.
because if it was just a concept and it didn't relate to anything, if it was just to kind of like, if it was more of a Lifetime movie, it
Yeah,
would
no.
it would not work. But this is actually adding to that. And there could be great movies that could explore the philosophical side, but this one
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
works well.
fundamentally, like, you can't have a choice between my husband who I lived with for 65 years and my husband who died when I was 20 without
Yeah.
it being set in the afterlife. Like, you can't
Right.
have
No. Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
you can't have the movie cannot be,
No.
without that. So,
Yeah.
you've got to come up with some kind of rudimentary rules that you're gonna have to sort of be like, "Listen, we're only gonna define so many things for you, and just understand that, like, that's not what this movie is." Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
movie's not, like, all about this place.
Right.
It's definitely there, and there's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
fun things and and
Yeah.
funny things and interesting things, but, like, the movie's really about
Yeah.
these relationships.
Yeah.
Let's get
Absolutely.
into our scores.
Do it.
So we score movies for technical rating. That's just the craft of the film, writing, directing, acting, all that good stuff, cinematography, everything like that. We give a score for the ending. We give a score for rewatchability, a score for cultural significance and impact, and a score for just how we subjectively liked it, despite all that other stuff. So, Kramer, what is your technical rating for Eternity?
My technical rating, I gave a 7.5. I think it's really, I think it's above average,
Yeah,
right? Like, they did a really good job. I appreciate that they took a lane and they stuck with it, with the love, as we've talked about. I think, as we said, I would love to have more time with Divine Joy Randolph and John Early. I think it would be kind of fun, because especially Divine Joy Randolph, she has character. Like, she says some things, and she says, like, like, you made me realize that, like, this is what love is. She says
yeah.
that to Larry. And like, I of everything, I wanted the most to find out what that means to her. And
Well, I'm
I
also
felt like,
curious, like, what makes people stay at the
yeah,
hotel and
yeah,
not choose to, yeah.
exactly. And I would
Mhm,
have loved to have seen that. So I think they, with the time that they had, because I think it's an hour and 52 minutes or something,
mhm.
I feel like they could have kind of explored that a little bit more to kind of flesh out her character a little bit more. And I think it would have made it even a little bit better. But it's just docking it a little bit for that. But
You
I thought
know,
it was solid.
Olivia said something, and I was like, that she might not be wrong here. Similar to, we're about to talk about Wake Up Dead Man. That's our next movie that we're
Yes.
talking about, which is this sort of series of films that, like, there's only one character that is in the
Constant.
continuity of the films. But she was like, I would watch a series of films that are just like that only feature John Early and Divine Joy Randolph in this
Yes.
afterlife place, and
Yeah.
do lots of different
Oh,
scenarios of like stories that take
yeah.
place at this hotel. And I
That
was
could
like,
be very
"Oh,"
interesting.
I'm like, "I would totally,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
if they wanted to make another one that, like, had a
Yeah.
explored a different concept of, like, something interesting that could happen,
Yeah.
because I just there's so many different
Yeah.
ways you could take it." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I would totally do that." I would t
Love that idea. Great idea. Yeah.
but I think it's always, like, a sign that your movie is really well made when there are supporting characters that are that interesting and
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
compelling. I felt I gave this movie an 8.
Yes.
Technically, I feel like it's a very strong execution of a concept that they really could have done a lot of things a lot worse than they did. Like there could have
Yes.
been, I mean, there's a lot of like comedic swings that they're taking that could have maybe not landed, and I felt like
Yeah.
they landed them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like the internal logic of how this place works just well enough to be like good enough, and I don't
Yep.
need to really get any more explanation than that for me. If I the points I'm docking, it's like maybe that the ending logic of how where they end up, I want just a little more information on that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's just like there's some of those other questions where I'm still like, I know your movie doesn't exist to answer these questions, but I'm still very curious, which isn't necessarily like a bad thing that the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so how about the ending for you?
The ending I gave an 8. I thought it was, again, I kind of knew where it was going to go, but I really love how it got there.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that they had those choices for Elizabeth Olsen and she made them. And then, it all kind of worked out well. So I enjoyed it. I thought they stuck the landing pretty well with this one.
I gave it a 7. This is where just for me, like I felt
Right. Right.
like and it maybe it was just my experience on the first time was like the emotional climax for me was him giving her away to Luke. And then
Yes.
her coming back was like, "Yes, this is right. We're setting everything right." But
Yes.
the way that they found their way to their own world, I
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Got
like,
it.
I was like, that's but also
Yeah.
I said to Olivia immediately, I was like, "Man, that's a hard movie to end." Like
It is. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really tough
Yeah.
plane to land because we're just in such a like
Yeah.
heightened world. It's really hard to like land somewhere that feels really satisfying.
Yeah.
I think they did a pretty good job, all things considered.
Agreed.
How about rewatchability?
Rewatchability, I gave a 7.5. I think this is it's a great movie that the comedy lands. You could definitely watch it. I mean, a great date movie, like take your significant other. I think everybody could enjoy it. And you could watch it again. It's a fun movie that you could pick up on the jokes. So,
Yeah, I gave it an 8. I feel like this movie has the vibes of just like an old school romantic comedy where we don't
yes.
really live in this era anymore, but it's one of those movies where like if we did live in the era of watching TV and
Yeah.
syndication, it's one of those movies where like if it was on TV, you could easily throw it on and pop in kind of in any moment and be like, "Oh, I love this scene." And
Yes.
just, and it's just like it's got those qualities of like a great romantic comedy where like it's always going to be a nice, easy, fun watch. There's always going to be moments that are going to tug at your heartstrings,
Yes.
and and I think it'll even like you'll find deeper and richer meaning with it over time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how about cultural impact and significance?
Well, I hope I'm wrong on this one. I gave it a 6.
Mhm.
Just because it's hard to I don't know how well it's doing at the box office. I think it's doing well, but I also it's like A24 is doing an amazing job just overall. So I hope that this does find an audience and becomes more of a cult classic down the line, just like you were talking about. Like and I think it will be. But as of now, I just feel like, oh man, it's a rom-com that and there's some great ones. This is definitely way better than most of the things that people see. But like I've talked to a lot of people like and my family and I'm like, "Oh, I saw Eternity." And they're like, "What's that?" Like they didn't know about it. They didn't know what it was. They'd never heard of it. And I was like, "Oh man." So I think it will over time be better and I want it to be better. But right now I'm feeling like, "Oh man, it's not finding a huge audience right now."
Yeah, I my score is 5, and I hope I'm wrong as well, but
Yes.
right now it feels like, and it feels like because we don't live in the era of, like, movies in
Yes.
syndication on TV and stuff, and
Yeah.
everything just goes to a streamer, it feels like this movie very easily could just get lost in the streamer shuffle and
Yes.
just be on some random platform and no one really knows about it,
Yeah.
and I hope that's not the case.
Yes.
I think this is a really solid film, and I think it's one of this is 2025's been, not, like, the best year for, film, and this was a pleasant surprise near the end of
Yeah.
the year, and I don't know, I hope it finds more of an audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think it's
um,
actually been a good year. People say it hasn't. I think
okay.
it's been a solid year. There's been a lot of There's been a lot of, it's not like 1999 where like everything was a masterpiece, but like this is a solid year where we've had a lot of original movies or less sequels. I feel like there's been a lot less sequels. Not that there haven't been a ton, but I feel like it's been a solid year. But
well, stay tuned for that, everybody, because we're definitely going to be doing our like 2025 breakdown episode sometime in the next few weeks. How about just your subjective score for this film?
My subjective score is an 8. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. I think it was much better in comparison to many of the just a solid movie that had, it's a rom-com, but it's also just really well made with good things to say that are, and it's executed very, very well. So
that's where I'm at as well, as an 8. Really, really lovely, just delightful time. What did you guys think about Eternity? Let us know in the comments. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And next time on the show, we are watching Wake Up Dead Man.
Yes.
This might be on Netflix by the time you see this, so you can watch it on Netflix if you want. If it's at a theater near you, go see this movie at a theater. This movie, if you can, go see Wake Up Dead Man at a theater. But
please do. Yes.
It just, you're going to like it more. I promise you. You're going to have a better time. But that's what we're watching next time. So if you want to watch along with the show, that's what you should do. And we will see you then.
Real quick, David Frayne is Irish.
David Frayne is Irish. Okay.
So we'll end on that, and we'll see you next time.